Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a really focused look into what's known as the Akhlaq.
Right, the moral character, specifically of the Prophet Muhammad.
Exactly. And we're sticking just to the foundational sources, the Qur'an and the Trusted Hadith. I think the mission here is to really understand the consistency of his character.
And that consistency, it's framed as having a divine foundation. The Qur'an itself states that he is of a great moral character,
Which establishes him as the Uswa Hasana, the perfect role model.
yes. And because of that, his life basically becomes the living explanation, what scholars call a living tafsir of the revelation itself.
So let's start before all of that then. That integrity, it was already his reputation, wasn't it? He was known as Al-Sadiq and Al-Amin.
The truthful and the trustworthy. Yeah, that was his public identity long before any message began.
But what's the ultimate stress test for that integrity? The one moment where everything was on the line.
It has to be the hijrah, the migration to Medina. I mean, just think about the sheer paradox here. You have men literally surrounding his home, ready to kill him.
Right.
And his final instruction to his cousin Ali is essentially, stick around for a bit and make sure you return all these things people left with me for safekeeping.
He's returning deposits to the very people who are plotting his murder.
The very same people, their valuables, their amanat. He put keeping his trust with them above his own personal safety. It's just a stunning detail.
And that character was the first line of defense, even for the revelation itself, when his wife Khadija saw him after that first experience.
Exactly. He comes home terrified, and her immediate reaction is to affirm who he is. She says Allah would never disgrace a man like him.
Because he helps the poor, he serves his guests.
Yeah. His established character was the evidence.
So with that personal foundation so solid, how does that scale up? How does it translate into, a social contract for the whole community?
Well, it leads to this really radical reprioritization of social duty.
Okay, in what way?
If you look in the Qur'an, the rights of your neighbors are placed right after the rights of God and your parents. It's that high on the list.
And it's not just the neighbor you grew up with.
No, it's explicitly inclusive. The text makes a point to distinguish between neighbors who are near and neighbors who are strangers.
And there's a hadith from Aisha that it takes my breath away. It shows the theological weight of this.
Oh, it's incredible. The prophet said that the angel Jibril kept emphasizing kindness to neighbors so relentlessly that he began to think the next revelation would order him to make them his legal heirs.
To give them a share of his inheritance. That's not just a friendly suggestion.
Not at all. It was actually tied directly to faith itself. He repeats it 3 times. By Allah, he is not a believer.
And who's he talking about?
The person whose neighbor doesn't feel safe from their harm. So your social conduct becomes a diagnostic for what's really in your heart.
So if that's the social standard, what about leadership? Especially in, let's say, a military or political context.
I think the key word there is humility. Humility in strategy.
You're thinking of the Battle of the Trench, Al-Khandaq.
Exactly.
No.
So here he is, the commander-in-chief, and one of his companions, Salman al-Farisi, who isn't an Arab, proposes this foreign idea.
Digging a defensive trench.
Right. Which was a Persian tactic, not an Arab one. And he adopts it instantly. No ego, no, that's not how we do things. The best idea won, regardless of the source.
And that ethic of valuing knowledge, it carries through even in victory. I mean, look at what happened after the Battle of Badr.
Yes. So first, he chooses mercy ransoming prisoners instead of executing them. That alone was a huge deal.
But the truly revolutionary part was the currency he accepted for that ransom.
That's it. It wasn't just about gold or silver. Any literate prisoner who was too poor to pay could earn his freedom in another way.
By teaching 10 Muslim children how to read and write.
Yeah, just stop and think about that. He made knowledge a form of currency, a treasure more valuable than wealth or even retribution.
Which brings us to the private measure, I suppose. The ultimate standard. He said, the best of you is the one who is best to his family.
The public and private had to be consistent.
Which is why, when Aisha was asked to sum up his entire character, her answer was so short and so powerful.
She just said his character was the Qur'an.
A life as the living text. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. And it's this idea of strategic patience, or SABE.
The Treaty of Hudaybiyah is the perfect example.
Right. To his companions, the terms of that peace treaty seemed humiliating, a complete concession. But he called it the manifest victory.
Because the goal wasn't a military win.
No. The real victory was creating a stable environment where the message itself could finally be heard without the chaos of war. even if it meant sacrificing pride in the short term.
So the question to leave you with is,
where today might we find a greater and more lasting victory in that kind of strategic peace and that kind of patience than we would in another direct, prideful confrontation? Something for you to explore on your own.